Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the world fading into a soft charcoal gray. The noise of the modern world, the hum of electricity, the screech of tires, the digital pings is being replaced by something much older. A rhythmic, low-frequency sound. It is the sound of a river. This is the Potomac River in the early 18th century, a wide, silver ribbon cutting through the deep greens of the Virginia wilderness. The air is cool, smelling of damp earth, cedar wood, and the faint, sweet scent of wood smoke drifting from a distant hearth. In the year 1732, in a quiet corner of Westmoreland County, a boy was born. His name was George. But before we see the man on the dollar bill, the general on the white horse, or the president in the velvet coat, we must see the child. As a psychologist, I invite you to look at the environment that shaped his soul. It was a world of vast spaces and profound silences. Silence in the 18th century was not an absence, it was a presence. It was the canvas upon which a young mind began to paint its understanding of the world. From a historical perspective, George Washington was born into the gentry, but not the highest tier of it. He was the son of Augustine Washington, a man of ambition and iron will, and Mary Ball Washington, a woman whose internal world was a fortress of discipline and anxiety. Imagine the young George sitting by the window of the family home at Pope's Creek. The camera of our mind pans slowly from his small, steady hands to the horizon. There is a sense of order in the way the trees line the riverbank. This order would become the cornerstone of his psyche. Psychologically, George was a middle child of sorts, caught between the shadows of his older half-brothers and the demands of a mother who required absolute emotional stoicism. In the quiet of the Virginia evenings, he learned that to be safe was to be controlled. To be respected was to be silent. As you breathe deeply now, feel that same stillness. The stillness of a house where the floorboards creak only slightly, where the fire in the fireplace pops softly, sending golden sparks up into the dark chimney. As a screenwriter would frame it, the opening scene of Washington's life isn't a battle. It's a study in observation. We see a young boy watching his father map out a field. We see the meticulous way the ink dries on the parchment. We see the heavy pewter plates being set on an oak table. Every movement is slow. Every gesture is deliberate. There is no rush in this world. The seasons dictate the pace, the slow thaw of winter, the humid weight of summer, the crisp, golden surrender of autumn. George's father died when the boy was only 11. Imagine the shift in the atmosphere, the sudden chill in the house, the weight of responsibility landing on young shoulders too soon. A psychologist would tell you that this is where his inner sentinel was born. He had to become his own father, his own guide. He began to copy, by hand, the rules of civility and decent behavior in company and conversation. 110 rules. Sleep not when others speak. Sit not when others stand. Speak not when you should hold your peace. Think of the scratching of his quill pen on the paper. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It is a meditative sound. Each letter formed with precision. He was not just learning manners. He was building a cage for his own fierce temper, a suit of armor for a sensitive heart. He was learning that leadership starts with the self. As you drift closer to sleep, visualize George walking along the edge of the woods. He is tall for his age, his movements fluid yet cautious. He is a creature of the frontier and the parlor, caught between the wild, untamed forest and the rigid expectations of colonial society. The wind ruffles his hair, not the powdered wig of later years, but his own natural hair, tied back with a simple leather cord. The Potomac continues to flow. It doesn't hurry to reach the sea. It simply moves, inevitable and calm. That is the energy we find in the young George Washington, an inevitability, a quiet strength that doesn't need to shout to be felt. The world around him is expanding. Beyond the river lie the Blue Ridge Mountains, shrouded in a soft indigo mist. Beyond those mountains lies the unknown. Tonight we leave him there, a boy standing on the bank of a great river, listening to the water lap against the queue. Stones, lapping, receding, lapping, receding. The weight of the future is not yet on him. He is simply a part of the landscape, a single heartbeat in the vast sleeping pulse of the American continent. Let your own breath match the rhythm of that river. Slow, constant, peaceful. The story of the man has begun, but for now, the boy is at rest. The fire is dying down to a warm orange glow. The shadows on the wall are soft and long. Everything is as it should be. Everything is quiet. Part 2. The geometry of the wilderness. Let us settle deeper into the cushions of time. Feel the weight of your body supported by the bed, just as the earth supported the young George Washington when he left the familiar comforts of his family's estates. We are now in the year 1748. George is 16 years old, a height of over 6 feet, a frame that is beginning to fill out with the lean muscle of a woodsman. As a screenwriter, I want you to visualize the transition of the costume. We move away from the soft linens and polished leather of the Virginia drawing rooms. Instead, we see heavy wool, sturdy buckskin, and boots that have begun to take on the color of the red Virginia clay. George is no longer just a spectator of the river. He is about to become a map-maker of the unknown. He has been invited by the powerful Fairfax family to join a surveying party into the Northern Neck, a vast, untamed territory stretching toward the Blue Ridge Mountains. As a psychologist, I want us to consider the profound impact of this journey. For a young man who craved order and structure, the wilderness was the ultimate challenge. To survey a land is to impose human logic onto the beautiful, chaotic sprawl of nature. It is an act of discipline. Imagine the sound of the surveying chain, the gunter's chain. It consists of 100 iron links, clink, clink, clink. As the men move through the dense underbrush, the sound is rhythmic, almost hypnotic. George holds the compass, a heavy instrument of brass and glass. He watches the needle tremble, seeking the north, settling into its truth. There is a deep, psychological comfort in that needle. No matter how deep the woods, no matter how thick the fog, there is always a true north. The air here, deep in the Shenandoah Valley, is different from the salt-tinged air of the coast. It is sharp with the scent of pine needles, damp moss, and the cold spray of mountain streams. As you breathe in, imagine that Christmas filling your lungs. It is the scent of possibility. Historians tell us that this was Washington's true education. He did not go to a university in England like his older brothers. His university was the forest. He learned the language of the terrain, how to read the V of a valley to find water, how to judge the quality of soil by the types of trees it grew, and how to endure discomfort without complaint. In his diary, the young George writes about sleeping in the wild. Imagine the scene, a small campfire crackling softly in the blue twilight. The flickering orange light dances across his face, highlighting the steady, calm expression that would one day define his presidency. He writes about sleeping on a bed of leaves or a matted blanket, often infested with vermin. Yet in the narrative of his life, there is no panic. There is only observation. "I have not slept above 3 or 4 nights in a bed," he writes, "but after walking a good deal all day, I have lain down before the fire upon a little hay, straw, fodder, or a bear skin, with man, wife, and children, like a parcel of dogs and cats." From a screenwriter's lens, we see the humor in this. The young aristocrat in training, learning to live among the rugged settlers and the elements. But from a psychologist's perspective, we see the birth of resilience. He is learning that his self is not defined by his bed or his clothes, but by his ability to remain steady in the face of the unpredictable. The nights in the Shenandoah are profoundly dark. There are no candles here, only the stars. Millions of them, sharp and bright against the velvet black of the 18th century sky. As you lie there, imagine those stars above you. They are the same stars George watched. They are silent, eternal, and perfectly ordered. The wind whispers through the towering oaks and walnuts. It is a long, low sigh that travels for miles through the mountains. She. It is the sound of the earth breathing. George listens to this sound as he drifts into a deep, dreamless sleep, his head resting on his pack, his body tired from a day of measuring the world. He is learning that to lead, one must first know the land. He is learning the geometry of the wilderness. Every line he draws on his parchment, every degree he marks on his compass, is a step toward the man he will become. He is no longer just George. He is becoming the surveyor. He is the one who defines the boundaries. He is the one who finds the path. The fire at the campsite begins to fade. The glowing embers are like tiny, warm suns, slowly dimming into gray ash. The woods are silent now, save for the occasional soft hoot of an owl or the rustle of a deer in the distance. The world is safe. The world is measured. The world is at peace. As the young surveyor sleeps, let yourself follow him into that quiet place. There is no work to be done tonight. There are no maps to be drawn. There is only the rhythm of your breath and the vast protective silence of the ancient forest. Part 3. The Messenger in the Winter Frost. Take a deep, slow breath. Feel the coolness of the air as it enters and the gentle warmth as it leaves. We are moving forward now, but the pace remains slow, like the steady gait of a horse on a long journey. The year is 1753. George Washington is 21 years old. The boy who measured the land with a chain has grown into a man of striking presence, tall, broad-shouldered, and possessing a quiet gravity that draws the eyes of powerful men. As a psychologist, I want you to feel the internal shift in George during this time. He had recently lost his beloved older brother, Lawrence, to illness. Lawrence had been his mentor, his window into the world of military honor and high society. In the wake of this loss, George didn't just inherit land. He inherited a sense of duty and a burning, quiet ambition to prove himself worthy of the Washington name. In the screenplay of this period, the setting shifts from the sun-dappled fields of summer to the stark, monochrome landscape of a harsh Virginia winter. Governor Robert Dinwiddie of Virginia has a dangerous diplomatic mission. The French are encroaching on the Ohio Valley, territory claimed by the British Crown. Someone must carry a message to them, a polite but firm request for them to leave. Visualize George standing in the governor's office in Williamsburg. The room is filled with the scent of old leather books and expensive tobacco. The candlelight flickers against the mahogany furniture. George accepts the mission. He isn't just delivering a letter. He is delivering himself into the pages of history. Now, Let the scene fade into the soft, muffled world of the wilderness in November. Imagine the sound of boots on frozen ground. Crunch, crunch, kesh. It is a steady, hypnotic beat. George is accompanied by a small party, including an experienced woodsman named Christopher Gist. They are heading toward Fort Leboeuf, near Lake Erie. The sky is a heavy, pale gray, pregnant with the coming snow. As a screenwriter would frame it, we see the vastness of the landscape compared to the smallness of the men. They are tiny specks of dark blue and brown moving through a sea of white and gray. But George's internal world is focused. He is learning the psychological art of the poker face. In the freezing winds, he keeps his expression calm. He learns that a leader's composure is the anchor for his men. Listen to the sounds of the winter forest. The trees, heavy with ice, groan and creak in the wind like the masts of old ships. Occasionally, a branch snaps under the weight of the snow, a sharp crack that echoes through the silence. But mostly it is quiet, a deep, insulating silence that makes the world feel small and intimate. They reach the French fort. Imagine the contrast, the wild, chaotic woods giving way to the sharp wooden palisades of the fort. Inside, there is the smell of wood smoke, roasting meat, and French wine. The French officers are polite, even charming. They host George with elegance, yet they refuse his request. As you settle into your blankets, imagine the return journey. This is where the true test of the spirit happens. The weather turns brutal. The horses grow weary and can no longer travel through the deepening drifts. George and Gist decide to proceed on foot. Visualize the two men crossing the Allegheny River. They have built a crude raft, using only one poor hatchet. The river is filled with churning, jagged cakes of ice. As they push across, George's pole gets jammed. He is thrown into the freezing, turbulent water. In this moment, time slows down. The water is a shocking, numbing blue. But as a psychologist, notice George's reaction. There is no panic. He fights his way back onto the raft. They spend the night on a nearby island, their clothes freezing solid into suits of ice. They cannot light a fire for fear of being discovered. Feel the stillness of that frozen night. The cold is not an enemy in this story. It is a blanket. It forces everything to slow down. The heart beats slower to conserve heat. The mind clears of all clutter, focusing only on the rhythm of survival. By morning, the river has frozen completely over, allowing them to walk across the ice to safety. George Washington returned to Williamsburg not with a diplomatic victory, but with something more valuable, a reputation. He had survived the impossible. He had shown that he could endure what others could not. Think of him now, finally back in a warm room. The fireplace is roaring. He sits at a desk, his fingers finely thawed, writing his report. The scratching of the pen is the only sound in the room. Scratch, scratch. He is no longer just a surveyor. He is a soldier, a messenger, a man who has looked into the cold heart of the wilderness and did not blink. Let that sense of endurance and calm wash over you. The cold is outside, far away. You are in the warmth. You are safe. The journey was long, but it is over for today. The maps are folded. The boots are set by the hearth. The world is tucked under a thick white blanket of snow, and everything is quiet. Fan tip Theo. Fan 4. Sen kie chung tan vau nung lan koi hu tun ca quoc chin. Tran fab vng ni George sngm tvv. Nung Thean Thatch Cock Liat T. Jumanville, Glenvifaugai necessity.